Welcome to Waywut. This is a rabbit hole podcast where we cover topics ranging from sports to true crime and pop culture to just weird facts. Really, it's just a couple of guys taking turns to present weird topics to each other. We publish episodes on Tuesdays and sometimes on Fridays. You can watch us on YouTube and listen pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, just wherever. We're probably there. We really appreciate you joining us for this episode. And now that we got all this self-promotion stuff out of the way, here we go. Well, all right. Welcome to another episode of Waywut. I'm Darrell. I'll be in charge of this today. The big boss, the head honcho, the big cheese.
The jefe.
The jefe. Here I am with no one. Because Jason has been dead the whole time.
Oh, I wish somebody would have told me I wouldn't have gone to work today. Over the last several weeks. Shit.
Sounds like the Beetlejuice afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
Stuck doing things.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll start, after that weird opening, I'll start today off with a true crime rant.
All right.
The second most frustrating part of watching true crime, listening to true crime, whatever, are the cases that cannot be solved. I'm not just talking about unsolved cases. I'm talking about ones that are just, we're never going to know. And I'm not, the obvious ones like Jack the Ripper, Zodiac Killer, but in the, more obscure ones like the Beaumont children in Australia, the Tylenol murders, although there's some people that think that one still might be able to be solved. Or Judy Huisentruit. She was like a news lady that just gone.
Oh,
bad one.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones where it's like does not seem like it's ever going to be solved. Some of these were, the crime was actually done too well. I think most are really that the culprit got lucky. There's usually like bad police work or just timing all worked out and they just somehow escape without a trace. They commit their crime and just vanish off to the nothingness.
Yeah, you see that quite often.
An unfortunate amount. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I like one of the podcasts I listen to a lot. So one's DNA ID and sort of they do genetic genealogy where there's always an answer at the end. So it makes me feel better. So anytime I'm listening to one of those stories where it seems like the only way to figure out who the bad guy was would be a time machine, it kind of ruins my mood for a while. Stop making callbacks. Not time for callbacks. I'm ranting.
It's always time for a subtle callback.
So as an audience member of one of those, I can't help but feel helpless, as you learn, about this horrible thing that happened, somebody got away with. I mean, I don't even want to know what it's like to be someone that's left behind in a situation like that. The victims' families, whenever it's just like, okay, yeah, this is just never going to get solved. And I'll just never know, like what happened to my loved one.
Yeah. How do you find closure?
Yeah. I mean, it would be maddening. I mean, you lose somebody in a way that you don't know how, you don't know who, and you just stuck with the mystery that living with that day in, day out.
Yeah, you just want an answer. You don't care if it's the bad news or the good news or whatever. You just want to know.
Yeah. I mean, we're fortunate nowadays. I mean, if you're not, a crazy murderer or something like that, because for them, it's not so fortunate. But for us normal people, we're fortunate that we live in a time where they can find these people with like DNA or like cameras that are all over the place.
Yeah, Ring doorbells.
Phone GPS and just all these new tools that law enforcement has at their disposal. I mean, we're pretty fortunate in that regard that hopefully, we'll see a significant drop in these kind of cases.
Or they'll get smarter.
Yeah. It'll be difficult for any criminal though to vanish without a trace. I mean, seriously,
this is true.
Not drop any DNA
There's cameras
anywhere.
everywhere, like you
You
said. You
basically
can't
have to
go
wear a
anywhere
garbage
without
bag.
being on camera.
Be like some murderer he caught suffocated because he wrapped himself in saran wrap before he went to try to murder somebody and he dies. Cases like this though, it's a reason why it's one of the few benefits that I have about being colorblind, because it kept me from being a cop. Even though, whenever I was younger, we both wanted to be detectives. That was something we
Yeah,
wanted to be.
absolutely. He would have been great at it.
But I mean, the more and more I listen to like true crime stuff, the more often I hear about these detectives that couldn't solve the case and they work on it even after they retire. They retire
Yeah.
and they just can't let it go. I mean, if I was to retire like right now, I would not be worried about implementing some software solution or a more efficient way to record orders. You know, I don't care. I get to leave my job. I couldn't imagine that, leaving a job where it also means that you're leaving behind a missing kid
Yeah. No, I
or a
agree.
dead person.
It would be hard to leave that job at home. It was
Oh
something
yeah.
that you would bring home leave that stuff at work. You would bring it home every single day.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like
and
you
take it
said,
with you even after you retire.
absolutely, it's something you can't forget. You feel like you're letting that family down if you can't solve the crime.
Yeah. Well, I know this is not a very unique or special rant. I mean, nobody likes these except for, the bad guys. Uh,
Mhm.
I mean, do you ever think that like criminals that got away with it sit around and watch true crime stories for cases like that and root for the bad guy? They're like, yeah,
Oh
go.
yeah, oh yeah.
Good.
Putting on or taking some advice and saying, "Oh yeah, I did that too. Good job, good job."
I wish I knew who he was so I could say, what's up. Oh no, no, you don't.
Then they have a chat room together somewhere. You know how serial killers used to send other serial killers like not emails, fan
Letters.
mail.
Yeah, no, that still happens. It still happens. Yeah, it's weird. You know what would be like the ultimate like crime solving thing, the murder solving tool, if the cops could talk to the dead. But that's never going to happen.
No.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Well, let's jump into our story. David Chase was a 42-year-old cabinet maker and craftsman from Colorado.
okay.
On June 6, 1995, he had
Oh,
an odd job with it.
pretty recent. I'm sorry. They're usually old stories.
30 years?
Yeah, it's on our time frame.
All right. On June 6, 1995, he had an odd job with his neighbor, Matt Orahosky. We'll call him Orahosky. I don't know.
That sounds good.
Who I'll call him Matt. He was a handyman that did odd jobs with David every now and then. So on that particular day, they had two things on their schedule: finishing a roofing job and cleaning some brush for a local moose club. For those of us in the 21st century, the Moose Club is a fraternal order, kind of like the Freemasons, except for being spawned instead of being spawned, by an order of craftsmen that started like, thousands of years ago. This was started by a guy in Kentucky that, as a men's social club.
Something to do on a Friday night.
Yeah. I guess before TV, the habit of kids wanting to hang out with their group or be part of a club continued on into adulthood. I just want to hang out with my friends.
Yeah,
You're 37.
we need a clubhouse. You're too old for a clubhouse. Okay, I'll call it a lodge.
Yeah,
Okay, we're
yeah.
good.
I mean, the only thing I can ever think of is the Flintstones, because I think they had the water buffalo or something like that. The Fraternal
Yeah,
Order of the Water Buffalo.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we should start a Fraternal Order of the Canadian Goose or something like that.
I could go. I can give with that.
All right.
Just another
Well,
reason to hang out and go
yeah.
and have fun. Why
Yeah,
not?
of course.
Do we get to wear a cool hat though?
You have to. It's part of it. But
What about this? No, that's somebody different. Never mind.
I was gonna say, with it being geese, Canadian goose, maybe we have a gooseneck cod piece that we all have to wear. You have a goose coming out of your crotch.
That looks a lot better than wording on your head.
Yeah. All right. No. All right. We're getting sidetracked. All right. So David and Matt finished those two jobs by midday, and they went to go get lunch together. After they had their lunch, they hit the bank so David could cash an $1,800 check.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course, after he had a pocket full of cash, the two guys hit up a bar called On the Rocks. That was in Evergreen, Colorado.
Well, it's a pretty clever name. Like it.
Yeah. Back at David's home, his wife Judy started getting worried because David wasn't home after she specifically asked him to not go out drinking with Matt. According to Judy, Matt was known for drinking too much and he had a tendency to get into fights. Not exactly somebody you want to drink with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So rather than necessarily promising her that he wouldn't go out for drinks, he did promise Judy that this was the last jobs he was doing with Matt. He wasn't going to work with him anymore. Make his old lady feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when David had not returned home by the next morning, Judy went to Matt's house. Matt told Judy that David left the bar and went home the night before. Hey, he left.
He doing what he was supposed to do.
Yeah. However, when Judy got back to her house, she called Matt's girlfriend, who told her something different. According to Matt's girlfriend, he had told her that David had a raft and decided to go swimming in the Bear Creek River that was next to the bar that they were at.
Perfect sense.
Yeah. Well, it didn't make any sense to Judy because, remember, this is in Colorado. There is still snow on the river, even though it was June. And according to her, David wouldn't do anything that stupid like get into a snowy river.
After being drunk.
Yeah. Judy did the smart thing and she went straight to the cops. She talked to two people, got two different stories. Like, oh, no, police. The police went straight to Matt since he was the last one to see David. The story he told them did not match the one that he told Judy, but it did match the one that his girlfriend told Judy about hey, I got a raft. I'm going to hop in the river.
Oh, because they got their story straight.
Yeah. So here's how Matt recounted their day. First, they were just drinking all day and went to several bars. Then they went and gathered the brush from the Moose Club and dumped it in the river on the rocks. Then David jumped into the snow-covered river and told Matt, pick him up in Morrison, Colorado, which is about 17 miles away.
Just on a whim?
Yeah, just like, hey, dude, I'm going to go jump in this river. You go drive 45 minutes and go pick me up. Later, bro.
Totally plausible.
Yeah, he's like, I'll be fine. I have a raft. At least that's what, Matt's saying. It's a completely reasonable and absolutely, I'm sure, true story.
Have you seen a picture of this raft? Is it like a one-man little
I have not, no,
canoe type thing?
there was no raft recovered.
Oh, okay.
So Matt claims to have not seen him after that. He jumped in the river. It's like, oh, all right. It didn't even say if he went to Morrison to go pick him up or whatever. It just, So Judy, aside from believing her husband would not jump into a snowy river, also claimed he was fanatical about keeping the wilderness pristine and would not have dumped the brush into the river. I'm not going to side with her on this because I'm not a litter bug, but chucking a bunch of sticks and leaves in the river is not polluting it. It's more like a relocation of nature.
Yeah, you're just gonna push it down the stream somewhere and end up on a beach.
Give the beavers something to build their dams with.
Yeah.
It's donations. All right. Well, the cops began their search, but it was hampered by rain and flooding in the weeks following the disappearance. So, you got a guy jump in the river, you get a lot of rains and floods. It's going to be kind of hard to find a guy in a river.
Yeah, I'm going to spread that shit out.
So, over a month after his disappearance, on July 24th, 1995, a property caretaker found David's body 3 miles downstream from where it was said that he jumped in. An autopsy was performed on the decomposed remains and determined the cause of death to be consistent with drowning. However, despite Matt's insistence that David had been drinking, there was no indication of alcohol in his blood.
Dun dun
Dun
dun.
dun. It was also noted that David had a broken neck and unusual cuts on his legs. He was found only wearing his socks and shoes with only part of one of his pants legs on him.
So his pants were hanging off, just one leg on,
Yeah. I mean,
no shirt.
actually, I think both of his pants legs were. It's hard to say. Now, his clothes were obviously ripped from his body, and that's normal in cases whenever somebody gets caught in river currents and flood currents. It will
Yeah,
pull their clothes off.
it's like a washing machine. It just throws you around.
Yeah, it's kind of like whenever sometimes when like people get run over, it like pulls them right out of their clothes. The discovery of the body triggered the police to formally question Matt. So now it's time to get serious. This resulted in a news story from Matt that claimed that after dumping the brush into the river, David had accidentally fallen in. They didn't go to the bar, they didn't go out drinking, they just, they were doing the job and he just fell in. A change in the story is enough to raise eyebrows, but
Yep.
it's even more odd because Matt did not go into on the rocks that was right by where they dumped the brush to get help, or the fire station that was 50 yards away from on
Closer
the
to the
rocks.
bar. Oh,
It's all right there. I mean, within shouting distance.
he should have went with the first story.
It's something. Well, no, because they didn't find alcohol in
No, I
his
mean,
bloodstream.
what he's saying now. I mean, he should
Oh
have been
yeah,
going with this story.
probably. Still not a good one though, because why didn't he, get help? It was right there. Judy also claimed that Matt's girlfriend, and I have no idea what her name is because she was never named anything else in the articles other than Matt's girlfriend, said that she found $800 in cash in Matt's glove box. The plot thickens. This caught Judy's attention because David cashing those, he cashed those checks earlier that day. They knew that there's a paper trail on that. The detective in charge of the case, Don Olin, did ask for a warrant for Matt's arrest for murder and negligence. But the district attorney's office declined because they didn't believe they could win with just the testimony and circumstantial evidence. And from there, the police investigation slowed to an absolute crawl.
Well,
Now, let's jump into another part of the story. 3
okay.
months following David's initial disappearance, a private detective named Phil Harris woke up around 4 in the morning. He didn't wake up because he needed to pee, but according to him, he heard a voice. Not just any voice, but David Chase's voice. According to
Oh,
Phil, this is what the voice told him. David initially intended to deposit the $1,800 check, but Matt talked him into cashing it so that he could sell a truck to David. David, ended up with second thoughts about buying this truck from Matt, and then Matt gets super pissed off. Ghost David goes on to say that Matt began yelling at him that he promised him that money, so it was his. Matt then shoved David. David shoved Matt back. Matt and David began exchanging punches, rolling around on the ground fighting. Next thing Ghost David remembers is being hit on the back of the neck with something hard. He didn't know what it was, but he knew that it broke his neck.
man. It was a long conversation to have with a ghost.
Oh, it ain't done.
Oh,
From there, Phil was told by the voice of David that Matt got help to get rid of his body. It was the accomplice that used the knife to cut the clothes from his body and apparently cut his legs in the process. They apparently wanted to get his clothes off without having to take off his boots and socks for some reason. I don't know. Maybe they have a reversion to feet. But yeah, so that's what Ghost David told this private investigator. So what does Phil do? He just had a conversation with a ghost, and in the pre-dawn morning. Phil approached Judy with his with a story about his paranormal interaction and what he was told by Ghost David. Phil told her personal details that David told him about their relationship, including that David would call her Honey Bunny and Shuggies.
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 Okay.
Yeah, Honey Bunny, I can see that kind of being like normal. Shuggies, that's pretty weird. That stands out some.
Yeah, it's pretty unique.
Yeah. Well, Phil being a private detective, he offered he offered her services to the case. And this part where you're like, well, okay, Darrell, here's the scam part. Yeah, he offered his services for the low price of $1.
Oh, okay. So he's
Just
not scamming her. Yeah,
yeah,
just to prove. Okay.
just $1 so that she'd be a paid customer. He could say she's her client and then talk on her behalf. Philip believed he had been chosen for a reason, and he wanted to see this case through. Knowing, oh, go on.
No, I was just going to ask this agent, this detective.
Uh-huh.
This is the first time he's ever heard of ghosts. There was nothing ever heard of that, or as far
Yeah,
as we know.
no, there are no other stories ever about this guy approaching anyone about ghosts.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Knowing they needed some kind of physical evidence to tie Matt to the murder, that's what he began searching for.
That was something that
A,
hit him in the back of the neck.
yeah, a year after David's initial disappearance, Phil took Judy to a reservoir. David's voice talked to him again and told him that Matt and his accomplice tied his clothes, like his shirt, the clothes that wasn't stolen, him,
Yeah, they cut off.
around the murder weapon and threw it into the reservoir. This would be the part of the movie where they would search and find the evidence, but that's not how this story works.
This ain't no movie, bruh.
Because Phil Harris died of a massive heart attack a week later.
Dun dun dun.
The police, they still had the case. They're still looking for some physical evidence or solid witness. They don't discount Phil's information, but they need something to corroborate it. The case is still open and unsolved. The only other thing I've been able to find are claims of other theories that David's wife Judy has. Her and David were in the process of adopting twins that they had been fostering. She believes a child sex trafficking organization killed David and Phil. Following the loss of David, they took the twins away from her, and she never heard from them ever again. Now, I'm pretty sure, if David was murdered, which it seems like that's the most likely scenario, I'm fairly certain it was for the cash. Phil's death really seems like terrible timing, just the worst timing.
There
And
was
then
no
on top
foul
of
play involved in that one that they
no, it was a heart
found.
attack.
Just a heart attack. Just a
He's a
heart
big
attack.
guy. Big guy had a heart attack.
Okay.
Bad timing. Then on top of all that, she loses these kids that her and David wanted to adopt. I mean, she lost a lot. And I can see her wanting to blame something bigger, than just some greedy prick. That she want it to be that, some big clandestine organization.
Mm-hmm. I
Uh,
can see that.
yeah. Or maybe having ghost testimony got a lot of attention on her husband's case and she wanted to keep getting eyes on it by saying crazy shit, because that's what some people do. They'll go out and say crazy stuff just to make sure that people don't forget a case.
I can see that too.
Mm-hmm.
When you want answers and nobody seems to want to help you and you're at a loss, you get pretty desperate.
Yeah. That's a bummer ending, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just kind of a bummer. I
Well,
started. Oh,
I'm sorry. Since you found this on the internet, is there a current internet page or a site that people are still trying to solve this on?
it's a bunch of different articles and stuff. There's like I mean, I imagine there's still web sleuths doing that, but I don't look at what they say because half the time their shit's very crazy conjecture, and I don't like that.
Mm.
Now, I started on this, topic for this episode because, it was super cool. It was about a detective talking to ghosts. I mean, that's like a TV series that would star Danny Glover or something. Or, Chris Pratt, since you kids like seeing him in pretty much every damn thing that goes on in the movies nowadays.
Oh yeah, he's great. He's
He's
great.
in everything.
So is Ryan Reynolds. I mean, he's in a lot of stuff too.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, this is just another unsolved case, but I will say this one at least seems to be more of a solvable case, possibly. Um, if he had an accomplice, like the ghost allegedly said, then, hopefully he'll talk, or maybe they'll find David's clothes, or maybe, just maybe, Ghost David and Ghost Phil will do like a supernatural buddy cop thing, and they'll reveal the murderer or haunt him uh, until the day they die.
Or
You
starring a
know,
sitcom together.
well, yeah, no, absolutely. I want, yeah, I wonder, like what I'd also like them to do is if they haunt the guy till he dies, that they have like this big ghost sprawl and they do like a supernatural curb stomp on the killer whenever it's done, and like mush his face into a ghost curb. Yeah, it would be a really cool movie. Yeah, someone in Hollywood needs to make this. I mean, it's based on a real story, so it's kind of like a remake of real life. And Hollywood loves remaking things.
Yeah,
So
with this being so far fetched, they make a great plot.
yeah, get to work.
But I have a question.
All right.
Uh, if Ghost David was able to contact now Phil or the last
Mm-hmm.
detective, why hasn't he been able to contact another random person to keep this going?
Do I look like Miss Cleo to you?
No, I'm just putting it out
I
there.
don't
Like,
know. I mean, for all I know, maybe they were born on some crazy same wavelength. Maybe uh, you know, he died where Phil farted once and it provides some cosmic connection. Or maybe Phil was full of shit. You know,
well, did
it could
he?
be it could be
Okay.
a lot of things. I don't
Did
know.
anything that David told him did he corroborate? Like, did
It's hard to
any
say. I mean, no,
other
they've
than the
never been able to
creepy
find
thing?
physical evidence. I mean, without physical evidence or an actual eyewitness, like say if he did have an accomplice, there's no way to just, say any of that.
Hmm.
They need to find a murder weapon or anything.
Damn, that is frustrating.
Yep.
A lot of moving parts there.
Yeah. And spooky ghost parts. Woo! All right. Any other questions?
Yes, what was his last name in case anybody wants to contact him on a Ouija board?
Oh, his name was David Chase.
David Chase. That's
Yeah.
okay.
And then
Just
Phil Harris was the detective. He's dead now too. So you can only, reach out and touch him on the Ouija board.
and did you say
Made
the location again?
It was in Evergreen, Colorado.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, Colorado.
My you know, I forget who made Ouija boards. Is it Parker Brothers or Milton Bradley? I think it was Milton Bradley. Was it Milton Bradley? I mean, it's like, oh yeah, no, it's this evil way to talk to the dead, made by the same people that brought you Monopoly.
And shoots and ladders.
It's like, ooh, yes,
Hungry, hungry hippos and Ouija board.
yeah. I talked to ghosts through my hungry, hungry hippos. I use guess who. I'm like, I open up the sides and I'm like, do you have glasses? And then
Yeah,
they
do you
just
look
start,
like this?
ghost starts popping down.
Guess who was a great name, but it should have came with a lot more people to fill in so you could keep changing it up.
Oh yeah, no, there was a couple things like if you got a black person as your person on that game, they're like, is your person white? And you're like, no, and it's like, it's like, okay, you're either Jamal or Marcus. Which one? It's like,
Very true. Very true.
yeah, it was not cool. And now I think I've seen it now, like the modern day ones. I think that they kind of, I don't know. I mean, they kind of went more diverse with it, which makes sense. I mean, it makes the game more challenging because, like,
Yeah,
you
when
draw
everybody's
a card,
quiet.
you're like, ah, dang it, I got Shantoya. You know, all he's gonna have to do is ask me, is she black? And then
Yep.
you know, it's like 4 characters left. You're like, well, is your person white? Yes. Click, click. Shit.
It's very true.
Anything
Very
else?
true, though.
I don't know.
Oh, well, we've done the Ouija board a few times. What'd you think about that?
I mean, we did it in a graveyard and on a
Mm-hmm.
tombstone, and nothing happened.
Yeah. What do you think about the people who say it does happen? Just full of shit.
No, I'm not. No, I wouldn't say that either. I'm never one to just say, well, if I don't see it, it's not real. I mean, I accept the fact that I don't know. Unlike so many things, I live in a state of I don't know. Uh, but yeah, I just if it's if it's a thing, it's a thing. If it's not, it's not. We'll see.
If it is a thing, it's weird that the dead picked a board game to communicate with.
It's a tool. I mean, hell, I mean, I've seen scary movies where they use speaking spells. I mean, it makes sense.
Oh yeah, okay.
Kill, 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 kill. Whenever.
Yeah, it's very creepy in that little robot voice.
Yeah. The cow says, I'm going to eat your soul. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this one. Now, while we all wait for the movie about this that should be called Soul Boys or Spectral Weapon, I don't know which one I like more, buddy cop wise. While we wait for that to be made, join us next time when we'll channel the ghost of Jason so that he can tell us about some stuff that'll make us say, "Wait, what?"
Wait, I'm still dead?
Well, yeah, you don't get to come back. You ain't Jesus. You
Hey,
ain't
this
Jesus.
wa-
You dead.
this this was water 15 minutes ago. And now look at it.
No, next episode, I'm just gonna be sitting here with a Ouija board saying, "Jason says L
It's gonna take a long time for
I
that show.
C K." Jason, we don't have time for that. Anyway, all
Oh
right.
man.
Okay. Well, I think that yeah. Let's just kill it. Bye.
Later.
Thank you for joining us for Waywut. We really appreciate you watching or listening. Please subscribe or follow us on your favorite platform to catch our latest episodes that we publish on Tuesdays and sometimes on Fridays. We'd love to hear from you, whether it's rating us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, commenting on our videos or just a podcast episode, or following us and hitting us up on TikTok, Facebook, or X. You can find us there with our handle, Waywut Podcasts. That's WAYWUT Podcast. And that will do it for this episode. Join us next time. We'll make you say, "Wait, what?"